Hello everyone. Here is a fun test for you. If somebody is claiming to be an Amazon guru, so just ask them to explain all the accounting that goes on when you get a customer return for Amazon or a COD return for Amazon. You would be surprised that more than 95% of the people, and I would venture out to say even 99% of the people, even who are in Amazon community and who sell a lot, don't really understand all the accounting and all the loss that you incur when you get a return or a COD reject on Amazon. I want you to be the smartest in the room, and this video is all about what are all the costs that you incur when you return a product or when a customer returns your product on Amazon. Welcome to Ecom with Gopal. I'm Gopal Kulli, an e-commerce entrepreneur with businesses both in US and India. I'm currently scaling an e-commerce brand which won the fastest growing startup on Amazon in 2021. This channel is to share my learnings, and hopefully these will help the others in the community to build and scale their e-commerce businesses. With that, let's get into the topic on returns and cash on delivery rejects. Just to summarize the topic on returns. So returns are when customer buys a product, either they don't like it or they used it and the product is not good. So there will be multiple reasons why a customer can return it. But as a seller on Amazon, as a third party seller, you incur most of the costs that are related to the return. And same thing with cash on delivery rejects. As you know, in India, cash on delivery is anywhere from 30 to 50% of your total orders, and 40% of those, so 40% of the total COD orders are rejected or sent back to the origin. So you as a seller again are liable for it. On your website anyway, you have to bear all the costs, but even on Amazon, you have to incur most of those costs. How much are those costs? What is the total loss that you're going to take from either a return or a COD reject? So that's the topic of today. So to start with, hope you know this, but let me just start with a quick overview of what are all the different components that go into a sale on Amazon. So I actually did a full video, a very detailed video on all the revenue components, cost components, and to see if you are actually really making money on an FBA with an actual product. So I have a full video on it. So click here to watch that. And in this, I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of it. So before we go into the return accounting, let's start with the sale, right? So like I'm assuming that I am making a sale for a product which is 1,000 rupees, right? So in that you have a GST component of 152 and product revenue of 847. Again, I explain in this video in detail, but GST is not 18% of this. It's not 180. It's actually just a thumb rule is divide the product price by 1 plus your GST, right? So in this case, it's 1,000 divided by 1.18. So that will give you a product revenue, and the difference is your GST. And then depending on the category, Amazon charges commissions. In India, it varies anywhere from 5% to 15 to 18% in some categories. So just to make the numbers easier, in this example, I took 10%. So the commission that you pay is 100 rupees on a 1,000 rupee product, right? And don't forget the GST, right? So on every cost component, you have a GST component. So you have a GST of 18 rupees. And then Amazon charges pick pack fee for every unit that you sell through FBA. So that's dependent. So that's 10 rupees here, and there is a GST component of 1.8. And Weight based fees are nothing but your fulfillment fee, your shipping fees, right? So here I just simplified it, but again, like watch this video where I go into all the zones, everything that you need to take into account. So it's basically dependent on your weight, volumetric weight, and the zones in which you're shipping. So FBA weight, let's assume it's 100 rupees is the total fulfillment fees for it, and you have a GST of 18 rupees. And then depending on the price of the product, Amazon charges closing fees. Again, you have a GST on top of it. So the total, so now if you see, when you sell a product for 1000 rupees, you're going to get, or the change to your seller account is 730.96. So you're going to get 731 rupees from Amazon when you make a sale. Okay. Now let's see what happens when you get a return on this item. So first thing, what Amazon does is, because of their customer friendly policies or whatever, they first credit the customer 100%, right? So all of the sales proceeds are reversed, right? So Amazon pays the buyer 1000 rupees and the buyer's account is settled, right? So he paid 1000 for it, because he returned it, he got 1000 back. So the buyer part is done. And now let's look at, we the poor seller have to incur all of this. So now let's go through all the things that go here. Again, so the good thing, at least from Amazon side, which you have to appreciate is, so Amazon actually pays you 80% of the commission back, so they only charge 20%, right? So in this case, if you see, they are reversing, so in this example, Amazon is basically reversing the full commission, but they charge like 20% of the commission even in case of returns, right? So that's something you have to keep in mind. The second component, pick pack fees, right? So in case of returns, Amazon is not going to return it, because that's a packing fee that Amazon has incurred. Even though it's returned, you still have to pay for it, right? So you don't get anything here. It's the liability of you, the seller. I think now you can guess the weight based fee. So the shipping event has happened, it's come back. So now if you see, there is no so Amazon is not going to refund you anything for shipping fees, right? And the last thing, closing fees, this is something where Amazon will refund you back, right? So 324. So just to recap, of the four components, commission, Amazon, this is again for returns. So for COD rejects, it's little different, but for returns, Amazon gives you 80% of the commission back, which means that they charge 20% of the refund commission. Pick pack fee, you don't get back anything. Fulfillment fees, weight based fees, you don't get anything. And closing fees, Amazon pays everything back. So now with that, you can see that out of, when you make a sale for 1000 rupees, you are getting 730.96. But when Amazon reverses this, it's going to take back 884.36 from your account, right? So which means that you are losing that difference, right? So you're losing that 153.4 whenever this return happens. That's significant, right? So if you think, if the price of the product here is 1000 rupees, on a 1000 rupee item, you are incurring a cost of 153 rupees, right? And you don't have any revenue on this technically. And that's not the end. And this is something that Amazon never shows you anywhere. And you as a seller have to be cognizant of it. So for every sale, you have this concept of ACOS, advertising cost of sale, and TACOS is total advertising cost of sale, which is distributed across all of your sales. So the total TACOS for your account, let's assume, is 15%, which is actually very conservative. So if you look at some of the consumable categories, vitamins, beauty products, it's much, the TACOS is much higher. But say for example, in your category, your total ad cost of sales is 15%, right? So which means that on the product cost of 1,000, you are incurring an ad cost on average of 150 rupees for every unit that you sell. Because it's returned, you are kind of losing all of that ad spend as well, right? So now if you add up, you lost 153 due to logistics costs and part of the refund commission, and then adding the ad cost that you might have incurred on this. So the total comes to 303, whopping 300 rupees on a product that was sold for 1,000. It's returned, so your revenue on this particular sale was zero, but you are on whole for 303 rupees, right? So let's assume even in the best cases, the profit margin on Amazon India is around 8 to 10%, right? So on average, like whenever you sell the product, you make 100 rupees on this, let's assume, right? So which means that to cover the costs on this one return, you have to sell like 3 units to just break even. Right? So again, this is like super important for you as a seller to know it. In e-commerce, it's actually a good thing. I mean, returns are there for a reason, right? Because customers are seeing without seeing the product, they are buying your product. So returns are fact of life in e-commerce businesses. But I want to make sure that you understand what is the total amount that you will be incurring on each return, and make sure you include that when you calculate your costs. Again, in this video, I talk very detail about how to think through all of this and how to include your return cost when actually pricing your product, right? So that's the main thing that I want you to get out of this video is understand how returns work, what Amazon returns, what Amazon doesn't return, and make sure you include that when you consider all of these factors when you are pricing your products. So that's a regular return. And now the other thing which you don't see in US, and which none of the softwares that we typically use account for, are COD returns, right? So cash on delivery returns. Again, the meaning I think is straightforward, needs no explanation. The customer places a cash on delivery order, either they were unavailable or they just reject it, the order comes back, right? So in this case, again, the accounting is almost similar except for like one change, which is actually in favor of the seller. So the total accounting here is the same. You make a sale for 1,000 rupees, you get 731 rupees from that sale. Now let's look at what happens in case of a COD reject. So same thing, the total, I mean, in this case, the customer hasn't like bought anything, so there is nothing to reverse at the customer level, but Amazon refunds you the full commission, right? So if you see here, they are not charging like any refund commission, so they refund you the full commission. They don't refund anything on the pick pack fees, they don't refund anything on the weight based fees, and they refund the closing fees, right? So just relating back to what happens during a return. So during a return, Amazon charges a refund commission of around 20%, but for CODs, Amazon doesn't charge anything, right? So that's why it's little favorable for you as a seller in this case, but overall the numbers doesn't change, right? So here your total cost that you are incurring is like 153, here it's 129, and adding your ad cost, it almost comes to 280 versus 300, right? So here it's 303 and here it's 279, so 28%, right? Again, which is very expensive. So again, like just want to provide you some framework, which means that if you are making 100 rupee profit on each item that you sell, a 10% profit, you have to sell 3 units to just break even on this COD reject, right? That's the fact. And the other thing that I didn't consider in all of this is the products getting damaged, right? So especially in case of returns, you will see, I mean, I have seen it all, right? So from customers just sending whatever they use in their house. So if they sell or if they buy like a water bottle, they will just send a one of the used water bottle from their house, all the way till returning the product in the exact condition it was delivered, right? So you see that wide spectrum, but my point is there will be a lot of instances during returns where you can't even resell the product, right? So I didn't even add that here, right? So now if you add that, the total cost of returns goes up. Again, in case of COD, typically I see the packaging getting damaged. So then that's always an issue. Amazon will send it back to you because they can't fulfill that through FBA, right? So overall, like as you see, returns are expensive. In some categories in India, Amazon has disabled returns, but in most categories, you still have to work through this and make sure to first know what is your total return cost, and then include that when you are pricing your product. Hope that is helpful. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave a message, or if you want me to cover like any specific topics, feel free to leave a comment and I will try to make videos depending on the questions that all of you have. And once I get 20 comments and 50 likes on this video, so I will add a link to this document in the comments here. So until then, hope this was helpful to you, and happy selling on Amazon. Have a great day.